Good to see you again, Inquisitor. Allow me to introduce Professor Bram Kenrick. He's the reason we're out here.
A pleasure to meet you, Your Worship.
Professor Kenrick teaches at the University of Orlais.
I came on an exchange program from Starkhaven. While in Val Royeaux, I've found something incredible. After 800 years, we may be able to determine the final resting place of the last Inquisitor.
That would be a fascinating discovery.
Inquisitor Emeridon stepped down shortly before the Nevarran Accord brought the Seekers of Truth into the Chantry. He hunted demons, dragons, and dangerous apostates in a time before Templars even existed.
I'm all for history if it means tracking down the equipment of a famous demon hunter.
How can we help you find Inquisitor Emeridon's resting place?
Your scouts have gathered artifacts from the area. They may help us discover what Inquisitor Emeridon was doing.
I have news as well. We've encountered hostile Avar to the north. They call themselves the Jaws of Hakon. There's also an Avar hold to the east. Unlike the Jaws of Hakon, they've been friendly so far.
The Jaws of Hakon?
They're hostile Avar who attack any Inquisition agents or researchers who get close. We've sent soldiers for defense, but the Hakonites are cunning, merciless, and know the basin better than we do. I'm afraid our men will not be able to hold out long.
I should go.
Be careful out there.
Scout Harding has an impressive team. Her people brought back a number of artifacts.
Have you been able to locate Inquisitor Emeridon's resting place?
If only it were that easy. After 800 years, we can't just look for tracks. Barring enchantment, cloth and leather will have long since rotted away. Only metal and stone remain recognizable. Complicating this are recent pieces the Avar left behind, and of course ancient pieces dating back to Tevinter. Fortunately, thanks to some period-specific buckling, I've been able to track our last Inquisitor.
What do you have, Professor?
Everything so far points to the shore not far to the south. There was some sort of battle near the shoreline. They were in a hurry. The scouts reported an island near an Avar fishing camp, but the Avar won't say much about it.
I'll find a way to that island and see if there's anything useful there.
Excellent. I'll continue to study what's been found. With luck, we'll both find some answers. Also, one of my research assistants, Colette, was investigating an old structure to the north. I'm not certain it's related to our investigation, but it couldn't hurt to check with her.
A baffled note, a note affixed to a book entitled Sir Lothair, Venay to Duret's Victory and Dominion. Lady Hurry, I could use the opinion of an expert. Though impressive, the victory outlined on the marked page could not have been achieved as stated. Bram Kenrick, sure it could, if you had enough apples. Hardly. property of Colette. Pages of neatly written, painstakingly detailed notes fill a well-worn journal. The notes breaks midway through for a list. Expedition to Frostback Basin. Preparation. Inquisitor Ameridan. What is known about Inquisitor Ameridan would barely fill a page. He was a friend of Emperor Dragon. He was Inquisitor when the Seekers of Truth folded themselves into the Chantry as part of the Nevaran Accord, their order serving as a precursor to the Order of Templars and the Cycle of Magi. Shortly after the Accord was signed, between 122 and 124 Divine, Ameridan left his position and departed, never to be seen again. These facts alone are undisputed. Everything else is uncorroborated heresy, broad speculation, or salacious rumor mongering. Ameridan did not willingly cede power. Dracon forced the Seeker of Truth to disband upon pain of death, then removed the Inquisitor rather than suffer rebellion in the new Chantry's ranks. Ameridan was forced to retire due to the still young Chantry's restrictions requiring celibacy, and he was involved in a relationship with a mysterious lady mage that the Chantry erased from history. Ameridan was a rowdy noble who cared more for raucous entertainment than for the Seekers. He held the position only because Dracon wanted a loyal friend commanding the Order. And when the Seekers became part of the Chantry, Ameridan was free to retire to a life of hunting dragons and wenching. Any of these stories may be true, and without more evidence, we have little hope of ever reaching a clear determination. Nevertheless, I would offer a few notes that are often overlooked as scholars delve so deeply into their own historical specialties as to lose key context. Firstly, Emperor Dracon, rightly acknowledged as the man who molded the Chantry into the organization it is today, was a pious man committed to spreading the chant of light and creating a world where magic and men were governed by Andrestian principles. All sources agree that Ameridan was a close friend of Dracon, and while it is certainly possible that Ameridan was more pragmatic than pious, it is highly unlikely that Dracon would have befriended a figure who was actively opposed to the Chantry, much less tolerated such a man holding a position of power in the growing Orlesian Empire. Secondly, Inquisitor Ameridan was universally acclaimed as a powerful combatant, regardless of his supposed faith or lack thereof. Rumor mongers suggesting Ameridan was exiled ask us to believe that the Emperor Dracon would see no use for the powerful warrior with years of command experience, given that the Second Blight had been a fact of Orlesian life for more than 15 years at the time of Ameridan's disappearance, with darkspawn pouring from the Underfells into northern Ole in growing numbers. It is frankly as absurd to suggest Dracon would casually dispose of such a military asset. Without further evidence, we may never know more about Ameridan's departure. Nevertheless, I hope that we may eschew the currently popular cynicism, at least when obvious evidence against it is presented, to see that his disappearance must have had some other cause. From Finding Ameridan by Professor Bram Kenrick, Starkhaven University Press. questions of accuracy that moved against them were halted by the light from her most assured hand. It was then she took her own counsel in ways best not set forth here, and led the party away. Did Ameridian's hide seekers among those assembled as he relayed the events which led them there? If she stood among us, I did not know her, yet his hand moved slightly at his side, as my own does when my wife is near, and I seek wordless comfort in the touch of her fingers. We had all heard the whispers. Did he say her name in the telling? Would he have dared? Times were different, but have they changed so much? Excerpts from the writings of Lord Viscount, first put to the page in 148 Divine. A letter follows, Kenrick. This is a precise copy. The preceding pages were lost or removed ages ago. Viscount makes no further references to this woman, although Ameridian comes up several times later on. Viscount's writings, as they pertain to Inquisitor Ameridian, are not entirely unknown, although you're unlikely to find them among Chantry records. Their validity is largely dismissed. Some have questions whether the so-called light and counsel reference magic or holy insight. And of course, Viscount wrote down his impressions many years after the fact. The author's own wife brought accuracy into question when she admitted her husband was recalling his youth in the Elysian capital through nostalgia and age-distorted memory. I believe her admission is part of official Chantry record. Best of luck, M. A neatly penned note. Professor Bramkerrick. The requested supplies have been sent to your current location from the university, including additional ink, books on Ameridian, and 3 Divine Age buckles for purposes of comparison. And yes, upon your return, you may say, I told you so, in regards to my saying your collection was useless. Everything should arrive shortly after you, of course. Roads still aren't what they were. Also, I fed that fish, but I am not talking to it for you. Professor Cheval Laurent, or Cheval Laurent, University of Hollet. Mouth of Echoes. The savages speak to their gods in the cave passage. They call it the Mouth of Echoes. They light fires and feed them with green spruce and shout their questions into the deep. They say answers come to them on the last whispered echo. Superstition, we laugh. And now Razikel is silent and madness descends. I can only think, what if there are irregularities in the veil here? What if we could secure the Alvar cave and bend it to our purposes? The slaves are gathering materials. We will build a shrine to the dragon of mystery, implant foci into the walls, cut sacred designs into the stone, the better to hear her with. We will hear her voice again, or we will die. Scribbled in blood-red ink on parchment found in the Mouth of Echoes. A memory saved. A faint inscription found in Frostbeck Basin. If this be our last together, let it end in laughter. Athel. At what cost? From an aged journal found in Frostbeck Basin. It still tastes strange, no matter. Several water-stained pages follow before the text resumes. If we traveled through lands more remote than this, we must have, yet I've never felt so removed from life back home as I do now. T makes the same arguments as always, though holds a lack of demons as a point in her favor. Luck isn't absence, which I was quick to point out. She called me pithy. There are demons here, though not as many as we faced in those early years together. The Avar have their mages too. The last were here prepared for me. I wonder if that's the part that bothers her. Oh, as always, was no help at all. We push on. My head hedges. The others are singing the songs we learned at that lakeside town. I forget the name of the place. I think my eyes are about to explode. Of course, A has noticed that and tells the others he needs to read something. It's quiet now. The journey here took longer than expected. I must take stock of the rations after sleep. They were more than expected. Everything has been more than expected. A few moments later, and would not be standing here. I was able to subdue the mage before things became worse. T said nothing about it afterwards. She knows, or would have died. At what cost? T asked me that once. I said, it cost nothing, but I don't know. I met a man who'd fought longer than I, but his mind had faded with age, and he could not answer. The point remains that I can do more. I can be more effective. We've all seen the demons, what they did. We've seen what some would do with blood. The better question is, Who pays the cost if no one takes this chance? And no one said it has to be forever, just until things are settled. If you count 8 times, will the number change? O asks. She's been watching me these last few days. Whatever she says to the contrary. Damn blue bottles. I did not plan this journey as well as I should. I lay trying to find constellations through the leaves. Tea brought me some water. She just smiled, and there was no admonishment behind it. It made me feel somewhat better. As always, A cooked our dinner while reading my own ability to produce something edible. O attempts to tell jokes. Maker, they're pathetic. Why do they make me laugh anyway? Long days behind. I fear there are fewer ahead. Whatever costs I've paid, they will be worth it. It doesn't matter. This night, safe beside a fire, the three of them singing that stupid song, I am content.
I hope it doesn't bother you to travel alongside a Vint, Iron Bull.
That what you are? You people all kinda look the same to me.
I'm also a mage. Would you prefer me bound and leashed?
I'd buy you dinner first.
Hopefully before you sewed my mouth shut.
Depends how much you keep yapping. Inquisition soldiers, we lending a hand?